Hi everybody, Jennifer Schaus coming to you live today from Washington, D.C., and thanks for joining us in our Webinar Wednesday series. This year we are covering the top 40 federal government contractors, and we're going sequentially through the list based on their revenues. Today's webinar, as are all of our webinars, is complimentary and recorded. You can find our recordings on our website as well as our YouTube channel. If you hop over to the YouTube channel and subscribe to that, it doesn't cost you anything except a couple minutes of your time. You will be alerted of any new webinars that we upload to the channel. If you're just looking for the PowerPoint, then you can hop over to SlideShare. That's also complimentary. Log in with your LinkedIn ID and password, and you can download any of our PowerPoints from any of the 600 plus webinars that we've got out there on government contracting. A quick blurb about us. We are based in downtown DC and provide services for established revenue generating government contractors. The services are listed here with primary focus on GSA schedule and other contract vehicles, FedLink, and others. We also put on events, webinars, and conferences throughout the year. You can jump over to the website to find more information. If you're selling to federal government contractors, we do offer advertising opportunities, including in our newsletter that goes out on Mondays, reaching over 25,000 subscribers, as well as on LinkedIn, where we've got over 27,000 followers. If you're looking for our media kit, just send us an email to the hello@jenniferschaus.com email address, and we'll send that over to you. Okay, some upcoming events and specialty webinars that we've got on the agenda. These are a little bit out there, including February of 2024 and August of 2023. We're putting on a marketing class in partnership with the Virginia PTAC, soon to be called the PTACs are converting their name or upgrading their name, we'll say, to Apex Accelerators. The links should perhaps stay the same, I think. GSA schedule class on June, so next month, and then again in September. We've also got a webinar with our friends over at GovWatch coming up on Friday, June 9th. It's at 12 o'clock Eastern. It's complimentary, and we'll be discussing how 38% of NAICS codes are being assigned to incorrectly assigned on SAM.gov. So this will help you understand how to navigate through various solicitations, RFPs and RFQs, so that you are not missing opportunities, and that when you are searching for opportunities using NAICS codes, that they are in fact aligned with what your solution is. The registration link is there. It's also on our website under events. This is a webinar. It is not in person, and it is complimentary. Okay, we've got our quarterly networking event coming up at the Kennedy Center. It brings in about 200 to 300 federal government contractors. The registration link is listed there at the bottom of the screen. It's also on our website under the event section. Okay, and now for today's webinar, they are complimentary thanks to our sponsors. So we want to thank our friends at GovEvents, the premier platform for posting events related to government and government contracting. You can find all of our webinars and recordings on the govevents.com website. We also want to thank Tom Johnson and his team at Set Aside Alert. They are the go-to publication for contracting opportunities for small, women-owned, veteran-owned, HubZone, and 8A firms. If you visit setasidealert.com, you can get more information about their services. The Fairfax Economic Development Authority has an online calendar of events and webinars, and we want to thank them for posting our events and webinars on their calendar. The contracting data in our 2023 webinar series is provided by GovSpend and FedMine. The GovSpend FedMine vision is to be the leading and trusted source of data, analytics, and insight for government contractors. The FedMine Federal Solution integrates data from 18 federal data sources and sets and creates a single convenient database that places the key data points at your fingertips. GovSpend began as a spending and purchase order database, specifically within the state, local, and education sector. Today, the database includes contract opportunities, so RFPs, RFQs within thousands of entities at federal, state, and local and education organizations. GovSpend acquired FedMine in 2021, and the combined solution empowers teams to make better decisions. Again, we want to thank them for providing the data in today's webinar. as well as many of our previous webinars in the past years. The Virginia PTAC at George Mason University offers free one-on-one counseling to established government contracting firms in Virginia on federal, state, and local procurement topics. If you're interested in learning more, please use the links provided to explore services, review homework recommendations, register for live trainings, and find useful links to agencies and other self-directed learning. Online resources and group trainings are free with no restriction on your business location. One-on-one counseling is limited to eligible client companies. The Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce monthly government contracting council meeting to network with peers, learn about upcoming events and opportunities, and help shape future programming. The meetings take place the fourth Tuesday of each month at 8:30 a.m. at the Greater Reston Chamber of Commerce. The next meeting will be on May 23rd. For June, the date will be June 27th. And don't forget that the Greater Reston B2G Business to Government 11th Annual Conference is actually this Thursday, which is tomorrow. You can find more information on their website. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but we hope to see you there. Bid speed. Do you want help winning government contracts? Bid speed helps and you win opportunities from every federal, state, and local public source in the United States. Need to find a teaming partner, an incumbent point of contact, expiring contracts. What about a compliance matrix or proposal templates? Want a solution to win with your GSA schedule? Maybe an easier or better way. If you said yes, jump over to bidspeed.com. You've got an email address as well as a phone number there. Of note, BidSpeed is an official partner of the U.S. Small Business Administration's 7J Management and Technical Assistance Program. Get started today at bidspeed.com. The Federal Business Council. Events are the ultimate engagement channel to bring government and industry together. 68% of government personnel report that they attend more than one event each year. FBC has worked with government and industry for 45 plus years to create gatherings where ideas are shared and to help government achieve its goals. This includes agency industry days, cybersecurity symposiums, tech expos, and offsite meetings. FBC provides full lifecycle meeting planning and event management. With over 5,000 meetings under their belt, FBC has the experience, systems, and personnel to make your next event exceptional. Learn more at fbcinc.com. Events. Looking for relevant government events where you can connect with community? Sign up for your free membership on govevents.com to find the latest events that matter to you near you. Conferences, trade shows, virtual events, webinars, and networking opportunities are available at your fingertips. Plus, explore upcoming sponsorship opportunities. You can even access on-demand events so you can stay on top of the latest trends and best practices in the industry. And you can post your own events for free to further expand your reach. All of this and more with your free Gov Events membership. Okay, again, thanks to all of our sponsors who help make this series possible. A little bit about the series and our schedule. As I mentioned, today's webinar is recorded. You can find the recording later today or first thing tomorrow morning on our website as well as on our YouTube channel. The PowerPoints are always posted on slideshare.net. Here's a look at the schedule, and everything in red is what we have completed. Today we're covering Booz Allen, everything that remains. Again, these are Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. The only exception is the week of July 4th, which we will skip, and we'll conclude on November 15th with GlaxoSmithKline. You can sign up for these on our website, highlighted there at the top, jennifershouse.com, top 40. Okay, we're assuming that most people are attending these webinars to learn about the primes because perhaps they might be interested in subcontracting. If that's you, just pay attention here for the next 2 minutes. If you are in fact interested in subcontracting, you need to still be cognizant and aware of the FAR and the DFARs. For FAR Part 44, subcontracting policies and procedures, we've covered every single part of the FAR and every part of the DFARs in 2020 and 2021. We'd encourage you to go over to the YouTube channel to make sure that you are aware of the policies and procedures that the government must abide by for subcontracting, as it will apply to you as well, including all of the FAR flow down clauses. If you're looking at defense contracts and subcontracting to Booz or any other company, you also want to be aware of the DFARS, subcontracting policies and procedures, and there's the link that will get you there. Other webinars that we've covered on subcontracting, we actually started this series in February with the first one listed here, subcontracting with the primes. We had guest speakers that covered the 6 topics that you can see there. That is probably helpful as well. Last year we covered all of the 15 federal departments and subcontracting opportunities within each of those. So we looked at the top vendors within each of the federal departments and sliced the data a couple different ways. Over the last 10 years, we have accumulated over 30 webinars on the more strategic and tactical topics of subcontracting. That link will get you to those 34 webinars. Excuse me, some best practices. If you are subcontracting, you always want to start with your value prop and not your checkbox, meaning you don't want to start with, hey, we're an 8A, or hey, we're veteran owned, or hey, we're women owned. You want to define what you do and be best in class in providing that particular product, service, or software, whatever it is that is your particular service. When you are looking for various opportunities, you're searching for sources sought, RFPs, RFQs, make sure that these are areas where you can add value and you're bringing something to the table, whether it's a specific capability, a lower price, or you've got a relationship within the department or agency with the program manager or some sort of decision maker. When you are looking for primes or just somebody to potentially partner with, use all of the data that's out there. It's free data. There is no other vertical sector out there that has so much complementary data, so use it to make decisions. All of the obvious websites are listed there: SAM, USA Spending, FPDS. If you're a little more advanced, then you probably have a subscription to any of the data aggregators that are out there, and there are plenty, some of which we mentioned earlier here as sponsors or data providers in this webinar series. You also want to take time to do that upfront research. It will save you time and money in the long run, so make sure that you know everything about the company that you want to potentially partner with. And basically just sleuth them, stalk them, whatever. I don't mean literally stalk them, but using resources such as Google and the websites that were listed on that last slide to learn as much as you can about them. Your capability statement should be customized for the specific opportunity. You should definitely have your bland kind of blanket capability statement, but if you're going to be speaking to a prime, it's not what can they do for you. Again, you need to be bringing something to the table. And so that capability statement should be highlighting that relationship, that expertise, that superior skill set that you have, the past performance that you have within that department or agency. Once you have all of this put together, then you actually have a reason to register on their website as a small business vendor. While you're on their website, you should be sure to sign up for their newsletter, find out what events they're participating in, where are they going to be speaking, are they a member of associations where you're also a member, where can you start to build a physical handshake relationship. Look for the small business liaison officers on LinkedIn. Those are just your kind of entryway into the company. And more specifically, you want to be looking for the program managers who are overseeing the program that is relevant to your company, where there is then an associated RFP or solicitation on the street. Okay, so today we're covering Booz Allen Hamilton. We've got some interesting data here, and it's should be a good webinar today. So again, thanks for joining us. Some basic info, company website. Again, you should have spent time here if this is in fact a target company for you, and just know some of the basic information. You don't need to memorize it, and you don't need to be a broker or own their stock, but you should be cognizant of any spikes or dips and understanding why they have those. They're on the New York Stock Exchange. And I always find it interesting to go back to 2020 and see, did they benefit or were they hurt through because of the pandemic? So just a snapshot here. Again, just be cognizant of what's happening in the market. Any of the government contracts may or may not be affecting them. Some of the companies that we looked at are, 90% of their work is with the government, so their stock price will be affected by any contracts potentially that they win or lose, companies that they acquire, divisions that they sell off. So again, just be cognizant of this and how they stack up against any competitors. Okay, if you have all of your ducks in a row and you're ready to register on their website, they do have the section fairly easy to find for suppliers and small businesses, and then the next link is actually the page that will ask for the various data elements from your company. So make sure you've got a full, that everything there is complete in order to have a compliant and complete registration. The worst thing to do is leave something blank or not have your just all of your information complete and comprehensive. Okay, a lot of these companies that we're looking at, because they are so large, have subsidiaries and sister companies and holding companies. So we find it helpful to identify the parent company here and the UEI number for them. They're headquartered obviously in Virginia. They've got 80 offices. They're about a $8.4 billion company with about 36,000 plus full-time employees. Some LinkedIn information. Again, as I mentioned, you've got about a little bit over 36,000 employees. You should be following their page on LinkedIn to stay abreast of any news, any company changes that are relevant to them that would impact your business. When we look for SBLOs, sometimes subcontracting managers are going to show up. Subcontracting managers are different from SBLOs. Subcontracting managers are dealing more with that paperwork, compliance, sub-K reporting. SBLOs, the small business liaison officers, are helping the business find the small businesses to subcontract to. So SBLOs are probably a good start. Subcontracting managers are not going to be as useful to you. Okay, now we're going to look at the prime contracts on the civilian side. Pretty interesting here and kind of concentrated in, like there's no super clear agency that they spent or have received the majority of their awards from, but HHS has grown except for 2023. It looks kind of dismal there, but again, we are 6 months into the year, so you'd have to go back and look at the previous fiscal years, and maybe the bulk of the contracts are awarded in Q3 and Q4. If that's the case, then perhaps they are right on target. Past performance is not always an indication of where things will go. The VA has also grown except for fiscal year 2022. Treasury seems to be growing at a steady pace. DHS dropped, but then picked up in 2022. Interior saw a significant drop from fiscal year 21 to 22. The reason we went back to 2018 is simply because I think it makes sense to look at what happened before COVID and kind of where they were trending, and if COVID and the pandemic affected the company adversely or not. If you look at the totals for the civilian agencies here, seems to be growing from 1.4 to 1.5, 1.7, 1.8, and fiscal year 2023 seems to be off to a strong start. Again, I'm guessing that most of their contracts might be awarded in Q3 and Q4. So just keep that in mind. And again, that would take more diligence and research on your side to see kind of when where the spikes are. These are just high-level overviews. On the defense side, the Navy and the Air Force are basically the clear winners. They seem to be, Navy is always growing. The Air Force saw a small dip in 2021. Their revenues do seem to be growing. As you can see there, the sector totals go from 2 to 2.3, 2.2, so a small dip, up to 2.4, and currently at 450. Again, this with the defense contracts, these are always delayed by 3 months for security reasons. So we're really only looking at a snapshot in fiscal year 2023 of the first, let's say, 3 to 4 months. So all in all, I would probably guess that they will have a healthy, we'll say, fiscal year for 2023 once everything is said and done and reported. So keep in mind again that those are 3-month delays, but seems to be healthy and growing. Okay, now if we look at the independent agencies, the clear winner here by far is GSA. They have grown every year except a small dip in 2021. The National Science Foundation seems to fluctuate a little bit. NASA also seems to be fairly steady across the board, going from 47 to 50, 51, 68 to 78. So 2023 for NASA seems to be already off to a pretty strong start. We've already got more revenue in the first 6 months than they had any of the previous 4 fiscal years. So something there, something good is happening there for them. If we look at the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, that sees some interesting growth going from 4.5, more than doubling to 13 million, and then seeing more than doubling again in 2021, and then healthy growth in 2022. So I would, if that's an area where you've got relationships or have some sort of secret sauce, or especially in any of the work or contracts that SEC puts out, that might be an area to investigate further. If we look at their sector totals, we're going to see some nice growth there and steady, just like we saw on the civilian and the defense side. So 1.6 up to 1.7, very small dip in 2021, but still kind of staying in that 1.7 ballpark. Nice growth in fiscal year 2022 at 1.8. And again, 2023 is to be determined. Okay, the top 5 NAICS codes, the North American Industry Classification System, so the codes that these solicitations are segmented under. Obviously, you can see the bulk of the work is falling under computer systems and design services. And if we look at the graph here, it kind of reads left to right. So if you're looking at fiscal year, the orange is 2019, and then the green is 2023. So again, keep in mind that, you know, they do have a significant amount of work at DoD, so delayed reporting for anything there in green. But the computer systems design services appears to be growing. The engineering services, a small dip. R&D minus biotech, some dips there, and not really looking like there's anything for 2023. Just for the general consulting, looks fairly steady, and same thing for the custom computer programming. If we see these actually in numbers, gives a better picture. Graphs are pretty, but let's look at the raw data here. For the 541, 512 for the computer system design services, which is where the bulk of their work is, you can see healthy growth from the last fiscal years. Again, this is going to include defense as well, so keep in mind that 2023 is incomplete, A, because we're in the middle of the fiscal year, and then B, just simply because of the reporting. The engineering services is also growing. R&D doubles in, R&D is, I think, the interesting piece here. They go from 55 million, almost 4x in fiscal year 2022, I'm sorry, in 2020, perhaps because of COVID, I would look at some of those contracts and investigate that further. Then they double in 2021, so going from almost 200 million to a little bit over 400. Healthy growth then again in 2022 by almost another 200 million. And looking fairly strong again in 2023. And again, keep in mind 2023 number there, the 105, does not include, only includes the first 3 months of defense, and we're only 6 months into the year. So just look at also the grand totals. So the sector totals also are growing at a nice pace. So healthy growth here for the company with these top NAICS codes. Now, obviously, they have other NAICS codes that they perform under, but for these top 5, they do appear to be growing. So going from 5.1 to 5.5, 5.6, up to 6 billion, and almost at 2 billion for fiscal year 2023. Okay, now when we look at the top subcontracts with their subcontracting requirement, these are going to be any contracts that are valued at $750,000 or above. And what we see here, VA and HHS seem to be the bulk of where the work is. DHS and Justice also come into play. And the sector totals at the bottom in gray also appear to be growing at a healthy pace. This is good news for subcontractors, and you could probably have guessed this just from the previous slides that we looked at. These are not sorted in any particular fashion, so some of the numbers you kind of need to jump around, but again, VA and HHS appear to have the bulk of the dollars here. Okay, we look on the defense side, same thing, contracts 750 and above. Healthy growth here if you're looking at the sector totals, 1.4, 1.7, 1.8, a little bit over 2, and a little bit over 4 for the first, again, 3 months of this fiscal year. So October, November, December of 2023 is really the only piece that we're looking at here. Again, just as we saw when we looked at defense agencies for Booz, that Navy and Air Force are the big kahunas here. When we look at the independent agencies, we're going to see exactly what we saw last time, which was GSA with the bulk of the revenue coming from GSA. National Science Foundation, if you look at them for 2022, they seem to be growing. So again, you know, kind of healthy growth, and I would again keep an eye on them in 2023. SEC, yeah, I would look at them as well. They go from fiscal year 2019, about 5 million, more than doubling in 2020, more than doubling again in 2021. Incremental growth there in 2022, and will remains to be seen what's happening in 2023. But GSA is where the bulk of the revenue is falling. Contracts awarded by agency, no surprise here that GSA is the bulk of where they are playing. Air Force and Navy, as we saw on the DoD side. We've mentioned HHS and the VA, as well as NASA, and these dollars are in billions. Okay, and now we're going to slice the data by industry on the subcontracting side. As we noted before, the computer system design services, which is the 541512, clearly is where they are playing the most. So you'd probably want to, if you're taking any notes, take a look at this and slice it with the GSA contracts, because those are clearly where Booz has their best success. And when we think of Booz, typically we may think of, you know, general consulting services, which would perhaps just fall under one of the like the main NAICS code for the 541, 611, third from the bottom, but obviously their specialty is in the computer system design services, or that's where the solicitations are being segmented under. So I'm sure there's some cross that you can find with 541, 512, and GSA. Now we'll look at the subcontractors. Accenture clearly is a good friend to Booz. They're getting a decent chunk of work. Subcontractors do not need to be small businesses. You can take a look at the companies there, including Raytheon, which is one of the companies I think we've already profiled, that's getting a decent amount of revenue as a subcontractor. There is also not just one subcontractor. There are tier 2, tier 3. The daisy chain kind of flows down, so don't think that just because these are the top subcontractors that there's nothing left for you. There certainly is. Just keep in mind that the further you get away from the contract, the smaller your profit margins will be. Okay, and those were just the top 10. There are going to be obviously numerous companies listed there, but just for our purposes and time constraints, that's what we profiled. The top 5 subcontracts reported. So these are listed by dollar amount, and I think our columns are a little bit off, so a little bit of an eye test here. And if you start at the bottom and work your way up, these are kind of in reverse order. So Accenture, again, as you can see, has the bulk of the subcontracts with Booz. Booz also has obviously holding companies, subsidiaries, so that is why they are listed there. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong columns. The subcontractor awarding on Accenture, and then some of the other companies that we saw on that previous list. But Accenture clearly has the bulk of the subcontracts. Now we're going to look at the top 5, and this is just top 5. There could be many, many more than this. GWACs, so the government-wide acquisition contracts, which are vendor shortlist contract vehicles, ways for the government to purchase from you. Again, the fiscal years are going to read left to right. And let's go through and just kind of talk about what each of these are. So Alliant 2 is part of GSA. And if you kind of read what they are about, highlighted some pieces here that it's more technology, AI, robotic RPA, and others. And they do have a piece in there that says it provides best value IT solutions to federal agencies while strengthening chances in federal contracting for small businesses through subcontracting. So look at the subcontracting opportunities within each and all of these contract vehicles. Oasis is also part of GSA. You can read there what that's about if you're not familiar. The VA also has their contract vehicle. Then there's the IAC MAC, which is part of DoD. That's the Information Analysis Center. So if you are focused on IT and cyber, this could be one to take a look at. Their website is pretty robust with a lot of information. You've got the Navy Seaport contract, Next Gen. It tells you there what that contract vehicle is focused on. And then CIO SP3, which should be a household name, part of HHS, more specifically NIH. So that's focused on health IT. Okay, so now that you know what those contract vehicles are, again, these are just the top 5. There are going to be many more contract vehicles that Booz holds. And you can see the dollars here and how they have fluctuated throughout the years. Also seems to be growing if you're looking at the grand totals, going from about 3.5 up to 4, a little bit over 4 in 2021, healthy growth in 2022, and remains to be seen for 2023. Keep in mind that, again, the defense contracts are 3 months behind, so 2023 is just a snapshot of where we are year to date minus 3 months from the defense side. What's coming up for expiration that is valued at 750 and above? Again, the reason we picked the 750 is because that is the threshold for subcontracting. And this is just going to require some more due diligence and homework on your side. So I would consider taking the contract number, plug it into sam.gov, and get some greater details. I always find it interesting to look at the number of transactions, meaning basically you're more or less dividing that number of transactions into the total sales. Not that it's going to give you an exact number of what each of the contracts were awarded under those total sales, but it will just give you some information about how these contracts are being broken down. Okay, some conclusions here. You should know if you're having conversations with these companies, who's at the helm here. Horatio Rosansky is their president and CEO. He's been with the company for a fairly long time. You should have some history about the company. And as you can see, Horatio started in 1992 as a business consultant, worked his way up the ladder. He's been the president and CEO for the last 8 years. These are some headlines that we pulled from the last few days, and where Booz shows up. It would behoove you to sign up for Google Alerts or any other sort of alert that you can get that keeps you abreast of when they are in the news, and make sure that you read the article before you talk to them. Being educated about the company, knowing a little bit about their history, their CEO, their stock price, what's happening in the news, will make you more educated and will make you, not that this is going to speak for your qualifications, you're still going to need to be qualified, but having an educated conversation with a potential partner, I think will help increase your chances, because there is no silver bullet. So again, any piece of information that you can bring to the table to differentiate yourself from the other companies that are perhaps just standing there and flapping a 8.5 by 11 capability statement that's not customized and asking, hey, what can you do for me, is certainly not the way to pursue these relationships. And then if we just kind of sit back and try to look at the data that we saw, as you can see, their revenue is spread fairly evenly with defense, civilian, and independent agencies. GSA obviously has the bulk of their of the work, but there's not any major differences in those 3 different verticals within government, federal government. They've got a good use of contract vehicles. Revenue is appearing to be growing through the top 5, as well as just even in defense, civilian, and independent agencies. As we saw in those charts, just by a visual, Accenture is clearly their favorite company to subcontract to. And their best fiscal year was 2022. We'll see what happens in 2023. As I mentioned numerous times, GSA is where the bulk of their work is. And speaking of fiscal year 2022, GSA towers over the Navy and HHS, which came in, we'll say, at 2nd and 3rd place here. As I mentioned, you do still have subcontracting opportunities further down the daisy chain, so there could be work at Accenture as well. And keep in mind that R&D NAICS code, the 541715, seems to really be growing. I think NASA was one place where that was happening. You'd have to go back and dig into the slides and continue your research a little bit further. This is just to kind of get you started. Okay, I want to thank everybody for participating. The recording again is on our website and YouTube, or it will be within the next few hours. Here's the remainder of the schedule. Every Wednesday, 12 o'clock. We finish out the series November 15th. We skip over the week of July 4th. And we hope that you'll see us, or hope that we'll see you on Monday, July 17th at our summer soiree at the Kennedy Center, 200 to 300 government contractors all in one place. That's it. Thanks for participating, and we hope to see you next week.